Hello again, wine friends, and welcome back for today's segment on Albariño. Before we do that though, I hope you had a chance to try some of those gins over the weekend that I featured for you last week, and I hope you all had a nice weekend. So, today I also have a special treat for you. I'm going to pair this Albariño with some food that was made by a friend, and I'll talk about all of that in today's segment on Albariño. Very nice wine. So let's begin. Albariño, I'm sure most of you are aware of the grape, originates from northern Spain in primarily an area called Rías Baixas. And I'll post a little bit about that later. It's a strange word, but you have to look at the word and understand how it's spelled. It's a little bit from the Catalonian dialect in Spain. The wine originates in that area, Catalunya, in the northeast corner of the Iberian Peninsula, right along the Atlantic and next to Portugal as well. So Albariño, interestingly enough, is grown right here in Berks County, not more than 10 miles from here, and also in the Lehigh Valley. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later as well. So the flavor profile for Albariño is quite simple. It's crisp on the palate. It shows flavors of lemon, a little bit of grapefruit, melon, pear. Depending on the variety that you have, you can get some nectarine. All of them have a nice acid, and some of them you will actually notice a little bit of salinity, a little bit of salt on the finish. So I'd like to talk about three of them that I have here today. The first one is called Gran Basan, and it is from Rías Baixas, as I said earlier, in Catalunya in Spain. And none of these are oaked. You generally do not oak Albariño, and this one is the one in my glass. They're not real perfumey, they're not real floral, but they have nice and crisp. Again, great summer wine. So that's the first one. This one is available. If you remember, I talked about Wine Access. They actually feature it, but I actually found some recently over at the Why I'm Missing Wine and Spirit Shop here in Berks County. So this wine is somewhat available. It was a chairman's selection, so it's not something that they stock regularly. I haven't been there in a little while, so I don't know if they still have any of this left, but I snagged a couple bottles when I saw it because I had bought it previously from Wine Access. So that's the first one from Spain. The second one, as I said, is grown right here in Bechtelsville, Pennsylvania, at a winery called Maple Springs. And Maple Springs is kind of a special winery where you have to join, and if you want to get this wine, you're going to have to either find it on a restaurant list or actually make a personal visit to the vineyard, and they have a special arrangement with how they have events, and they have their wine club. I will post information about them and give them their proper kudos for being included in today's clip. Now their wine, it is an Albariño. This one has a real nice salinity to it. It's not much different than this one, but you can taste different fruits coming out. It's not quite as big on the nose. It really has a nice salty kind of finish. And our third one is one that I just discovered recently. It is actually one that I took to my friend's house to pair with the food I'm going to share with you in a minute. Blew me away. This one is called Val do Sosego, and it is from Rías Baixas as well. Little note there, it's a 92-point wine from James Suckling. I tend to follow these wine critics because I think they know a little bit more about wine than I do. So when you get a 92, it's probably going to be a pretty good wine. This one is amazing. When my friend and I were drinking this the other night over dinner, we both looked at each other and went, oh my God, it's like drinking a pear. And it just has this nice subtle pear overtone to it. Nice and crisp, just like the other three here. So let's move on then to, I do want to, before I leave the wines, there's also another winery, and that's the one in the Lehigh Valley. I don't happen to have a bottle here, but I recommend that if you have a chance to visit the Stony Run Winery. There's 2 locations, one in Kempton, Pennsylvania, which is in Berks County, and they also have a tasting room in Breiningsville, just up above Kutztown, over the Berks County border as you get into Lehigh County. For those of you that know where Chance Road is, it's just off there in a little industrial complex. Highly recommend not just their Albariño, but their whole library of wines, as I would for Maple Springs as well. Excellent winery, not just their Albariño. So with that said, I'd like to now move to our first ever food and wine pairing live on the camera. So this dish is called paella. I'm not going to go into a lot of the particulars about paella, but it is a very famous Spanish dish, which is rice-based, and it's made, as you can see here, I'll try to hold it up, with shrimp, chorizo, Spanish sausage, clams, chicken, and other assortments of foods. Peas are put in it, and it is a fantastic pairing for Albariño. I do want to give a shout out. This dish was made by a very good friend of mine. I'm just going to call him in this on this clip, Chef Jorge. So gracias, Chef Jorge, for the dinner here. And just a side story, he made this as a lovely birthday present for my wife. And we decided to show up with a bottle of wine to pair with it. And we paired it with this dish. And I'm going to just sample a little bit, because this wine actually goes very well with all of the ingredients in this paella. I'm going to take a piece of shrimp. Let those flavors and then you take your wine and smell the salt. Oh my. Again, gracias, Don Jorge. So, if you ever get a chance to have paella, I would recommend pairing any one of these wines with the dish. That it certainly pairs well with any seafood, shellfish, regular fish, light meats, chicken, and as I always say, it pairs fantastically just with a glass. So I'm going to recommend that you go out. You might want to find this one, hook up with Maple Springs, or just do your own wine searching at your local wine and spirit shop, wherever that may be. Snap up an Albariño and you will not be sorry. So again, until we have our next chat, in vino veritas.